Hey everybody, it's Coach Lisa with the Running University, and today we have another one of my favorite member spotlight sections of my YouTube channel. I love interviewing the ladies that are in the True Tribe. Today you're going to get to hear from Renee, and Renee is 65, doesn't even look 65. And she did her first ultra like a year ago when she turned 64. So we're going to dive a little deeper into Renee's running story. So I hope you enjoy this. I'm excited to hear from her. So as I always start out, Renee, how did you meet me?
Okay, it was the fall of 2020. I picked up running again in 2017, and in 2020, COVID hit, and I don't know. I'm always looking to improve my form, and I don't remember where I saw the chi running thing. But I had the book, Danny's book, Chi Running, and so it caught my eye somewhere. So I joined some class that you had, a Zoom class during COVID. Yeah, and so you were I think the leader of the Zoom class along with someone else, and so I had several weeks of seeing you weekly and interacting that way and learning more about chi running and chi walking.
Yeah, awesome. That's how I remember it too. So at the time, for me personally, I had purchased the Chi Running company along with three other instructors, and we were pivoting during COVID, trying to figure out how, what we could do differently. And so we came up with the online course that you attended. That was our first one. And yeah, I can't remember. It was either Costanza and or Sarah. I'm not sure.
It was Sarah.
Sarah. Okay. Yeah. So we were both co-teaching. I think I might have been the lead. I can't remember. And then we also offered video analysis, right, to people at that time. And I think I did video analysis, right?
Yeah, I took you up on that and sent you my video analysis, and you did that for me. So
yeah, exactly. So since you kind of touched on it, let's talk about your running story. When did you start? Because I think you started on and off a couple of times. I'm looking at your member spotlight, right? Like you started.
Yeah.
So, yeah. How did you start?
Well, it was so funny. My brother was just visiting me, and I'm telling him, well, I ran track in middle school. He goes, what? My own brother didn't even know that. Like, ran cross country, but I ran track in middle school. I mostly did the 440 and mostly the 440 relay. So I was into short and fast, and I tried running in high school, but didn't go very far. And then I kind of quit. And then in the 1980, me and a girlfriend of mine went out to Cape Cod. We went to New York and to Cape Cod, and I saw the Falmouth Road Race. It's a 7-mile road race. It's pretty famous. And I was just fascinated, and I said, oh, when I go home, I'm going to start running again. So I went home, and I just would go to work, come home, go jogging, and I started doing 5Ks and 10Ks around town. And and then I moved to Washington State, and I have logs. Oh, I decided in Washington State I had this goal to do a marathon. So I joined this run a marathon in, I don't know, however many weeks. So along the way, one of the milestones was to run a half marathon. So I ran the half marathon on Mercer Island in Washington State. I did it in 2 hours. So
nice.
But I was younger. I was close to 30, and but the half marathon was so hard that I said, I am not doing a marathon. And I canned it, and I shortly became pregnant and had my child and quit running until 2017.
Okay, so you stopped from, let's see, it was like in the mid 80s, I guess.
1986 to 2017.
Okay, I can't do math right now, but that's
Me neither.
But that's a long time.
14 plus 17, that's at least 30 years.
Okay, yeah. And so what prompted you to start again running? Because that was before COVID, because, right, you started running in 2017. So that was
right, 2017. I had a girlfriend. She's really active. In fact, she's the one that moved to Gold Canyon here. And but she lived in Washington, and she would run at the trails near my house. And I tried running with her, and I couldn't keep up with her. And I play clarinet in this band, and this clarinet man. He was near 60, and there was a local running store course, and he joined it. He'd never run before, and he's like 60 years old. And so he went, from couch to running, and he talked to me about it, and I'm like, and it just got me going. Like, I want to be able to run with my friend, and I'm totally out of shape. And I'd been trying to run around the block for exercise. And so I joined the local running store, 6 week summer type course in 2017. So I went from running a block, walking a block, to finally being able to run a mile, and then, took off from there.
Excellent. Yeah, and I remember actually, so when we were doing that class with the Chi running, and when you did your video analysis, I think more specifically, at that point you were strictly road.
Yes,
right?
I did.
Talk about your transition to trail.
Okay, so I just would sign up for 5Ks, mostly 5Ks, and then I wanted to get faster, and so I hired a coach, and then just was doing my workouts and my 5Ks, and then it came COVID, and the road races dried up, but I wanted to race, and so the coach I had at the time said, "Well, would you be interested in trying trail racing?" And I said, "Sure." So I think my first one was a 4K in Seattle, and it was just a park run. And I remember going there and I ran it, but I ran the wrong course. I got back really fast, and they thought, "Wow, you're fast." I go, "No, I'm not fast." And then I realized I ran the wrong course. I'd only run, I don't know, a mile or so. So I texted my coach, "What should I do?" He goes, "Start over." So I started over and did the real course of that race.
Okay.
I went from there. I just kept signing up for trail race after trail race. I loved them.
That's commendable. And just for everybody listening right now, this is one of those stigmas that I really like to try to break, because a lot of people think that the only people who need coaches are elite people. And now elite people need coaches for a whole different reason. But I always say beginners up to all runners really can use a coach, right? Like, and even in your, I'm kind of shifting a little bit, but that's all right. That's how these work. Because you have a coach, you have two coaches technically, right? Because yes. I'm your coach too, and you have another coach. But just how important it is. And again, I'm just kind of really making a statement to everybody listening that hiring a coach is only just going to help make your transition into running, or whatever your goals are for running, quicker, easier. I mean, I know there's a lot of information on the internet, right, where you can find stuff, but I mean, do you agree that having a coach was made a big difference?
For me, having a coach just makes me accountable, and it gave me a structure. Sure, I can find stuff that had this plan and that plan, but I was just winging it, and I just really feel like I get more out of having someone who knows what they're doing, give me a structure, give me suggested paces. Because back in the 80s, what did I do? I just would go out and run the same pace, same effort all the time. And it was probably a tempo effort all the time, right?
Sure, yeah.
You hear about 80-20 all the time, 80% easy. And I'd never heard of that. Just
right.
Being accountable and having someone who knows what they're doing, who knows what my goals are, and he or she helps me get to those goals,
right.
Yeah. And at first it was faster, but when I got to trail running, it was just longer.
Yeah, exactly. So going into that, then what made you decide to run an ultra at 64 years old?
Ooh, I guess, well, first of all, the cool thing that I found out about trail running is I didn't feel competitive against other people. The 5Ks, I would get so mentally competitive. They hurt. They're so painful. 5Ks are so painful because you got to be on. But I found out trail races, all I'm doing is just going out and trying to go the distance rather than as fast as I can. So now I forgot the question.
Oh, well, what made you decide to go to do an ultra?
Oh, okay. So with trail running, instead of the goal being faster, the goal is just longer and longer, because I love being out there. I just I love my long runs. The longer the better. And I told the coach that I had before, I said, I want to run all day. And so in order to run all day, you got to go at a different pace than if you just run for an hour. And for me, it's just longer and longer now instead of faster and faster. I just love being out there in the beauty. Trails are just like, they're like a maze, and it's just
I say it's like
fun.
a video game to me, right? It's kind of like, I'm a video game person, but that's how it feels. Like you're kind of like, yeah, your whole form changes depending on whether you're going uphill or downhill. It's like a fun game outside that you're.
And there's always something cool to see in front of you too when when you get to that point where you can focus on that and not
so it
stumble.
was really a matter of you just enjoying the trails so much, and then, well, why not just keep going longer and longer? So far your longest has been
it was the 50K at McDowell.
So we have one ultra under your belt right now, and what do you have on tap coming up now?
So I have a 55K in December.
Okay, so that'll be your longest.
And that'll be my longest because that's 34 miles. So I did, McDowell was 31.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm shooting for the 100K in February, which is 60 miles.
Yeah.
So it's kind of scary because I only have the one ultra under my belt. But, it's good to have the goal and aim for it and see how far I get.
Exactly. And you'll have another one under your belt before that. And you have two coaches and a community, right? Like
yes. And so lots of community experience in that community of ultras and
Yeah, exactly. So just because I always love to tell people, again, I already made my little spiel about people hiring a coach, and it doesn't matter if it's me or not for anybody listening. Just find a coach. Like, first of all, the personality thing really has to work. But I have several women in my group that have multiple coaches, usually two. So you switch coaches already. But what prompted you to come into the tribe? Like, what was the attraction to coming into the tribe?
For me, I moved here a year and a half ago to Arizona from Washington. And I wanted just a community. I've been trying to find people to run the trails with, because it's scary being a woman alone out there, and just having a hard time finding people to run with. And I also one of the reasons I got a coach is because I like kudos, right? I have a hard time telling myself I did a good job, so I need somebody else to say, Renee, you did a good job.
Yeah, good job.
So, the community, when we post on there, you'll get kudos and you'll give us kudos. And I just need the community sharing this love. I like sharing the things I love with other people. It's just, we're social animals. So,
Right, exactly. And funny because I remember actually, so we had our whole interaction online in the Chi running community, right? And then I think I remember at one point you said you were going to move out here, right? Because you were in Washington at the time. And I think I remember it was a Trail Sisters, right? Because I'm a Trail Sister leader, and I had scheduled an event, and either it was online or it was in person. That I think it was in person first, where I was like, oh my God, aren't you Renee from the Chi running community, right? Like, you came to one of my Trail Sister events.
Well, yeah, I saw your name I joined the Trail Sisters thing, and then I saw your name on one of the trail runs. And I think I texted you and said, hey, I just moved here, I'm going to come. And so I showed up.
Yeah, and
it was a long ways to go, but I showed
exactly, because you're like out way on the west side, and I was doing the Papago in Tempe, so you had came a pretty long way to come. And again, I'm glad that we pursued, because going back to joining the tribe, again, every coach is different. Every coach has different strengths, and I encourage everybody who's either wanting to get into running or get better at it, to look into the idea of, you can have an online coach, an in-person coach. But community is a huge thing with the tribe, right? Is really about being with like-minded women. Generally speaking, I say, it's women over 50, but we do have some that are younger. And it's so cool to see, again, we've got several 30-year-olds that look up to women like you in our tribe going like, wow, this is what I have the possibility of doing when I am in my 60s, right? Which is like super amazing. So if you had to give advice to a beginner runner, say that was starting in their late 50s, maybe early 60s. So I know you've been running on and off throughout your life, but say, what would you tell a person who wanted to start running a little later in their life? What's your advice?
Well, definitely being consistent and doing what you can to be healthy, to support, because consistency for me is about the accountability piece, about having the coach, because when it's on a schedule, I'm very visual and it's in black and white, and I follow that schedule to a T. So being accountable and having a schedule that you follow, that's incremental, but slowly incremental. So, because I've been injured so many times, and I hate being laid off from running. So, listening to your body as you increase that mileage is so important. Every single niggle, you got to ask yourself, you know, you got to pay attention to that. And if it keeps happening every day, you got to listen to that and lay off and seek advice. And, you know, and the sooner you take care of those niggles, the less you're going to have a problem with them and the more you can run. So I eat healthy to run. I try to get 8 hours of sleep so I can run. Just everything feeds into the running. Like,
it's your lifestyle.
About being healthy. Yeah, it's my lifestyle.
Like, you have a running lifestyle, which is amazing. Yeah. And I say at your age, I don't think it's old, right? But I'm just saying, because for a lot of people, I talk to people who are like, oh, well, I'm too old. And they're saying this in their 40s. Like, I can't start now. And I'm like,
I'm seeing people running in their 80s. And I want to be one of those people you see on Facebook that's like running when they're 80.
Right.
Or even 90.
90s. Yeah.
So it's big picture, right?
Yeah.
Stay healthy, to stay running, to enjoy the running and not be in pain.
Exactly. And I'm looking at your member spotlight that you did a while ago when you joined the tribe, and consistency was you answered that too, with consistency. And it is really important, because a lot of people might try it out, or again, if you don't know what you're doing, you try it out, you might hurt yourself, or you just assume it's not for you. And again, that's why finding a coach or just learning a few things about technique, walk running when you start, obviously, like, you're not just going to start running.
Right. In the beginning, I would run 10 minutes, walk 1 minute, run 10, walk 1. You know, you got to get your body used to that.
Exactly. So last time I asked you this question, I said, do you have a bucket list race or distance? And you said, I would like to do the Black Canyon 60K. You've already changed that.
I signed up for it, so it's there.
Yep, I love it. And I know right now, like, we say this in the running world, right? Like, I don't want you to really think any further than that, because this is what you're training for. But I assume, based on your love for running, because you truly do love running, that's not going to end up being your longest distance.
No, I mean, sometimes I wonder. It all depends on how the 100K goes, right?
Right.
Like, if it goes well, then who knows?
Yeah.
I don't see I don't know. Who knows? I could go for 100 miles. I don't know. That's really fringe, but I'm just focused on the 60 sounds like 60 is like twice as much as I've done. So
yes. And that is a lot too, when you think about doubling the mileage. I know it's definitely like, those are, but that is also, I think, what we, right, as ultra runners or anybody who just, the idea is, okay, now I made it this far. What can I do next? Right. So it's really about learning how to push our limits mentally and physically with running. And then, of course, I always say, then from there, it expands out to life, right? When you're pushing yourself out of your comfort zone because you're a runner, it makes it easier to do that in your life and to do things out of your comfort zone, right? So, well, this was fun. I always just enjoy, chatting it up with my ladies and just digging in a little deeper into their running stories. Did you have anything else that you want to say or add to anybody listening to this?
No, just that we can do hard things, and you just set your goal and you move towards the goal. And it's, one of my favorite, I have many mantras when I run, and one of my favorites is stronger with every step. So when I'm tired, it's like, well, I know if I can take one more step, I'm going to be that much stronger for the next time. And so, yeah.
I love that. I love that. I love your love for running. We always talk about a love-hate relationship with running. I'm not sure I've ever heard you ever
Yeah.
hate
No,
it.
I
Ever.
love running. I have a love relationship with running.
Yeah, I love it. That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for hanging out with me today, Renee. I
Sure,
really
thank you.
appreciate it. And I hope that anybody listening to this, regardless of your age, that, if you haven't picked it up yet, again, feel free to reach out to me, find another coach. It's an amazing sport, and you're likely to just find some passion in it. Thank you.
Definitely. Thanks, Lisa.